I do want to ask you about a college player, though, and that is Travis Hunter, and whether you think we're going to see more of coaches going, hey, I'm going to take my best athlete and let him play more and play both sides of the ball. That's always been the argument against doing it, is that you didn't want to get him hurt. I think there are guys that could have played as many plays as Travis Hunter, but they didn't want, that was not the best way to go about it. For them, it was the best way to go about it.
No, and Pat, we're old enough that we've seen those players come through. Like Travis Hunter is doing something that is unique because no one else is doing it, but we've seen people capable. All right, you remember the Gordy Lockbaum phenomenon at Holy Cross because they allowed him to do something like that.
Okay, and welcome in to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We'll be back in here again on Thursday, actually. Coach Spurrier, if all goes to plan, will be back from the things he's been on. And, Heisman, he has to go to the Heisman, the Hall of Fame. So we're going to have a Thursday show with him, if that all works out. So we'll be in here on that. Today, Charles Davis is going to join us. You know him from television, from CBS. Does a great job, or Fox, actually, I think it is. Doesn't really matter. You flip on TV, and there he is. But he's a good friend. I've known him for a long time, and really good dude. We can talk college and NFL with him, and then Coach Spurrier will be on Thursday, all things go well, and then again on Monday, we'll be wrapping up the Florida Bowl game, which is amazing, and then the following Thursday will be no show. We'll have a best of show that we put up, but obviously it's the day after Christmas. I'm going to still be in St. Augustine, maybe on the way back. But anyway, we are going to do that show the Monday before I leave. In fact, we're leaving that Monday, but I'm going to get in here and do that show one way or another. All right, so let us move along to our Royal Blue starting five, brought to you by Royal Blue. The best place to go if you want to get a yacht. It's an unbelievable setup they've got over there in Palatka. My friend Randy Royal will take care of you. Believe me, it is the place to go. Royal Blue, we appreciate them being the sponsor of the starting five. Well, let's start off number one with basketball. Yes, I know Florida's playing football this week, but basketball right now is the talk of the town. And it's really weird because, like, my daughter calls me. She was out of town, my youngest daughter, and she was listening to the game on Sirius because she took my car. And she calls me and says, Dad, what is going on here? And I go, I know. I'm not sure what's going on here. And then my wife comes in and goes, what's going on? I go, these guys are really good. I mean, I don't know how to right now it's 10-0, and we know what they're doing. They're beating some good teams. Look, still haven't beaten a great team, but Arizona State was supposed to be their biggest test, of the non-cons. I don't think it's North Carolina. North Carolina's not ranked, but either was Arizona State. But they were 8-1 coming into the game. Florida just destroyed them. I mean, the game was tight, and you're watching it and going, man, oh, God, that play. And next thing you know, I think they're up by 30. It's just amazing how well this team is playing together. Look, we're all kind of waiting for that moment where things don't go well. But I mean, they're going to lose a game, okay? That's going to happen. And they're getting ready to head into SEC play pretty soon, but obviously not right away. Still got North Carolina on Tuesday and then a couple other non-conference games at home, so we'll be watching those. But it's pretty amazing how this team has not only played – they look like a better offensive version of last year, which you didn't think they could be. And they're definitely a better defensive version and a better rebounding version from last year. They're a better team. Now, let's see how it goes when we get into conference play, but it's been a lot of fun. And it was a choice for me on the Campus USA play of the weekend because there were so many dunks by Florida. It reminded me of the national championship win over UCLA in Indianapolis. And guys were coming down, and I was like on the front row. I was just like, I was trying not to tear up because Florida's about to win the national championship in basketball. And Lupica and a couple other guys, Bob Ryan, came down. They go, hey, are you keeping track of how many dunks they've had in a row? I go, yeah, it's 7. And, I go, no, it's 8. It was just unbelievable. That's what this game reminded me of, were these just tremendous athletes, and this is one of them right here. Right down Peachtree goes Will Richard, and it's just been just a little move, boom! He dunked it so hard, the ball almost came back out of the basket. Like, I wonder what the rule is on that, when the ball goes in but comes back out if it ends up coming out. So watch this, when he dunks it, it came out of the basket. And luckily it went back in. But I don't know. It feels like once you clear the rim, it should be counted. And again, that put him up 26. Look, these guys are doing some amazing things. And getting to be our Campus USA play of the weekend is enough right there. But it has been a lot of fun to watch these guys so far. And I would imagine that people are going to show up for the games. I mean, I want to see Gator. Now, I know that it's so different from football and basketball. Football, it's a weekend. Basketball, it's a 9:00 game on a Tuesday. And, sometimes you just don't feel like going. And I get that. And Florida's basketball attendance has been okay over the years. But this team is giving you exactly what you want. They're winning, and they're fun to watch. You can't say they aren't. So hopefully we get people out there, and hopefully some people show up in Charlotte, because, look, that's going to be a North Carolina crowd. You know that. But, that's good. And this is what, Todd Golden's really smart about all this stuff. And he's kind of the guy that they needed to explain to all the other coaches 10 years ago how important it was to schedule difficult games, and how important it was to schedule games, non-conference games, out of, not in your place, not in their place. Neutral sites count a lot for a lot. They don't count as much as a road win, but they're not as hard, to be honest with you. And he knows that. So that's why you see so many neutral site games for Florida, and you may right away go, I can't believe we're playing Wichita State and Orlando. Why can't we play them in Gainesville? This is how you build up your net ranking and you get into the tournament and blah, blah, blah. So he's very smart about knowing that. So good for him. Let's get to number 2 on our Royal Blue. Starting 5, and that is that Florida's not going to have any trouble with the net rankings now once they get into the conference play, unless they just lose every game. And I don't think that's going to happen. But the SEC has just been unbelievable. It is a dream start for Greg Sankey, and in a way for the late Mike Slive, because Mike Slive was pushing hard to get basketball better and trying to get ADs to take chances on coaches and do stuff. Anyway, we talked about that last week. But, you had Kentucky winning. Tennessee beat Illinois at Illinois at the buzzer, number 1 team in the land. Alabama beat Creighton. Creighton's hurt, and they lost one of their best players for the year. But every game you go, the SEC is going to win that game. I'm watching the Georgia game, and Georgia's about to get come back on by Grand Canyon, but they did. They won, and the SEC. You remember 14-2 in the challenge versus the ACC. It just keeps going, and the SEC is a monster. Right now, the SEC has 5 teams in the net top 10 and 6 teams in the CBS top 10. And again, this is going to be the cannibalization we saw in football. But in basketball, you've got room for that third loss, as Alabama found out they didn't have room for. But you do certainly in basketball. You can go 24-6 and be a 1 seed. So it's a little different. It's going to be exciting, though, this basketball season. But what the SEC's been able to accomplish, I remember there was, it must have been 8 or 9 years ago. I think I was in a parking lot in Columbia, Columbia, South Carolina. And so we're there for the Florida game. That was the Tebow game, where he won the Heisman basically that night. And we were talking about, God, did you hear who lost today? They lost to this, and Auburn lost to South Alabama, and all these teams were losing in the SEC, and it meant that your net was not going to be able to be helped that much by. I remember though that moment in time is when it seemed from that point on it's been really good. Anyway, the SEC's been really good. The problem, of course, is you'd wish the SEC wasn't so good, because you have to play those teams. And Florida opens up with Kentucky in the SEC. Kentucky's looked really good. It's a really good league, and it's going to be fun to watch, and just get your wins where you can get them, especially on the road. If you can steal them on the road, man, they're going to be powerful for your rankings. All right, so let's move to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is, it has been I wanted to point this out because it's award season, as you know. The Heisman was Saturday night. I watched 0.0 of it. Pretty much knew he was going to win. Certainly deserving, Travis Hunter. I mean, I think there are guys, we'll talk about this with Charles Davis in a little bit, but there are guys who could do what he does, maybe not at that level in terms of that, being one of the best receivers in the country, winning the Biletnikoff, which I vote on that. I did not vote for him. And then also winning the what did he win, the Thorpe or he won one of those other defensive back awards. He's won the I think the Bednarik he's won. He's just amazing. I mean, he did some special things. I do think there are other athletes around these campuses that could do what he's doing, but he's doing it, and that's the point. And he went to the one coach who would let him do it and who would encourage him to do it and would push him to do it. The guy's an incredible athlete. But anyway, Ashton Genty did not agree. He said, I should have walked away with that award. And, okay, well, you're at least in the playoffs, so you can go do something there. I will say this. I watched Ashton Genty play 3 or 4 games, and he was on my ballot, but it wasn't where he probably thinks it should be. It's why he didn't walk away with it. I did vote for, I had Cam Scatterbo on there too. I liked watching that guy play from Arizona State. He was really good. He and, I wanted to vote for Cam Ward and I didn't, and now I feel like I should have. But anyway, doesn't really matter who I voted for. You know who won. All right. But during this award time, when we got all these awards coming out, and we find out that Rocco Underwood, the Florida's long snappers, won the Manley Award for best long snapper. That's great for him. But more importantly, Jake Slaughter was named AP All-American. Now, that is a big deal, first team AP All-American. It's a big deal that you win it, but it's a big deal because your name goes into infamy because you get a brick, paver, whatever you want. I call them pavers, because they're bigger than bricks. It's not like a brick. Go look for Aaron Hernandez's brick over there. It's gone. But anyway, you get a brick when you're first team All-American, and now he will get one. And I'm sure he's going to be excited to walk his kids over there one day and go, there's Dad's name right there right there behind Vernon Hargraves III. And who else? Who would be somebody who got it recently? Dante Fowler, I think, won one. Anyway, anybody who gets All-American gets a brick down there. And it's always cool to, when you're walking around that corner where the big gator head, the bull gator head is, to just go over there and just kind of walk around and look at those bricks and see how many All-Americans they've had and brings back a lot of great memories. Now Jake Slaughter gets to share in those memories. All right, that was number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5. Let's go to number 4, and that was that I got to be honest with you, I had to remind myself this bowl week today. I'm like, Florida plays in a bowl game this week. It's again, when you play this early in the bowl season, it's unusual. Some teams have already played, but to play in this game on the 20th, and the reason it dawned on me Saturday was my phone was blowing up because Charlie Strong was in town. Charlie Strong was here and got to watch practice, had a tour of things. People were freaking out. I talked to Charlie. Charlie called me up. He said, hey, look, I was just passing through. I called Spikes. They said, hey, can I come by and watch practice? Okay. Maybe that's true. But I do think, and here's something that I can tell you without talking to Charlie, that the heat of that job is not something him at his age is really fired up about. he wants to help Florida. He wants to help Billy Napier any way he can, but he doesn't want to be defensive coordinator. That's the bottom line. And it's a hot job. I mean, it's a great job, but you're going to catch hell. And he knows that. There's also some, and I've heard this from several people. In fact, I can tell you two people, but I can't tell you who I heard it from. But I know I've got two sources on this. And two sources usually is good enough, because if you trust both sources. But there's some real friction there with the defensive coaching staff. And there's a reason Austin Armstrong bolted and took a lesser job. There's just some friction there. And I don't want to get into too much detail on what I've been told, because I've heard it from enough people. Heard it from enough people. There's some friction there. And yet they're playing their best defense they played in the last 5 years. I don't know what they're doing right, but they're doing something right. Anyway, let's move along. We'll talk a little bit more about the Florida game against Tulane on Thursday's show. But as we know, right now there's not a lot of buzz about this game, only because it's Tulane. Their quarterback's not going to play. But there is a lot of momentum going with the Florida program. So what they've got to do is keep it going the right way. Keep it going in the right direction. Win this game. Look good doing it. People are going to freak out. They're going to put you in the top 20 next year. And you'll have a lot of momentum, and it'll help in recruiting. It'll help in the portal and everything. So it's what you got to do, especially with the situation we're in. We're in a weird situation where you got guys, a backup quarterback at Penn State got out, jumped in the portal. He says, look, I'm not going to wait until after our playoff games until we find out how far we go. I got to get in the portal now. Drew Allers is not going anywhere. Now, if he gets hurt, I can't play. Sorry, but I got to solve this problem. It's possible he could wait and go into the second portal, but I understand where people are coming from. A lot of people are getting a lot of advice these days. All right, let's move on to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is that the Tennessee women set an NCAA record for every division yesterday. They hit 33s in a game. Now, I don't even know who they were playing. Nobody. Okay, that was pretty good. And then I saw that I can't remember who it was. 2 teams in the NBA broke the record for the most threes in the game. This is the world we live in. We live in the NIL world, we live in the portal world, and we live in the three-point shooting world. If you're not dunking, you better be making threes, because nobody's looking for 15-footers, and this has been going on for a long time, and every once in a while a guy will make a mid-range jumper, and the announcers will freak out. Oh, you never see that anymore. It's the way it is, man. Got to make those threes. Florida's got the guys that make them. But you live by the 3, you die by the 3. But that's everybody. That is everybody. That's the NBA. That's college. You're either on the fast break getting a dunk, or you're making a 3. One or the other. It's the way we deal with it. All right, that is our Royal Blue starting 5. Appreciate Randy Royal and Royal Blue for being our sponsor of our starting 5. We'll take a break. When we come back, Charles Davis will join us. You know him from being a Tennessee player, and also all the college football and pro football he does. We love him, and just a great dude, man. Love Charles. Let's get him on right after we take this break here on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet. giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, and we are coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And our guest is a great guest. We've had him on before. I can't wait to talk to him, but he's not going to like all these Gator helmets in the background. Charles Davis, you're getting fired up for your Tennessee playoff games, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. And listen, I don't mind the Gator helmets there when it's a year that Vols won in football, and we're number one in the country in men's basketball, and our women are still undefeated, and our baseball team's a national champ. So I've lived in this state for a long time and taken many a beating and many a taunt, and there was nothing I could say about it because, as you well know, those who are winning that's their right to do so. I'm not going to do any taunting or anything like that. Too much respect for the university. Have a daughter who graduated from there, so plenty of checks to the orange and blue. But to be a Vol right now feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell people, Gator fans, hey, when you're on top, don't be too, but they can't help. They can't help. And most fans can't.
Yeah, it's hard for any fan base. I'm not leaving it at Florida. I think a lot of people would probably find my Vols right now a little insufferable. I mean, it's just how it works when things are going well for you. And when we've had so much trouble beating Florida, especially on the gridiron, think about how we're feeling right now that we finally got it done. The only downside, if you want to call it that, this was the year to strangle Florida on the football field. Instead, it was an overtime win, right? This was the year to choke them out. And that was like, what? What do you mean we're going to overtime?
Yeah, well, really? If it was up to me, they wouldn't have been going to overtime. Okay, I would have gone for 2 there, but that's me.
Right. I mean, you had the decision Todd Bowles had in Kansas City, Tampa Bay, to do something like that. The bottom line is, my feeling was never should have been in that situation this year with Florida. Other years, totally. This year, never should have been. It shouldn't have been a close ball game. And I blame ourselves for that.
Well, and I will say this, Tennessee played a lot of games like that where they played kind of at the level of the opponent and they pulled out most of them. So I think next week they had the same game, right, against Alabama.
We did. Listen, we're the Kansas City Chiefs in a similar way. Not that we're the champions because we haven't gotten to that level. But what you're talking about, since I cover the NFL, Kansas City is now 13-1. I mean, and everybody's like, oh, they're vulnerable to this or that. They find ways if you're 13-1, you can't be that bad. It's not all luck. It's not all the officials are giving you games. You are in a position. I always come back to luck is the residue of design, as my dad taught me. Luck is the luck happens if you're in a position for it to quote unquote come to you. I don't know if that counts for Tennessee this year or not. I'm thrilled with what we've done. I'm thrilled we're in the college football playoff. What Josh Heupel and staff have been off the charts, especially considering what they took over, what Jeremy Pruitt and crew left behind. Them to take that and advance it. What Danny White has done as an AD to get us in a position where we can be in this spot. I could not be happier with what's happening at my university. We have competent leadership from the top all the way through, which I can't say we've had for a lot of the time since I've left school.
Good point. That's enough Tennessee talk for now. Let's talk NFL. But I let you get your Tennessee stuff in because I knew it would be.
I appreciate it. I feel so much better now. I feel so much better.
But it's been a wild. I do want to ask you about a college player though, and that is Travis Hunter, and whether you think we're going to see more of coaches going, "Hey, I'm going to take my best athlete and let him play more and play both sides of the ball." That's always been the argument against doing it, is that you didn't want to get him hurt. And you know, I think there are guys that could have played as many plays as Travis Hunter, but they didn't want, that was not the best way to go about it. For them, it was the best way to go about it.
No, and Pat, we're old enough that we've seen those players come through. Like Travis Hunter is doing something that is unique because no one else is doing it, but we've seen people capable. All right, you remember the Gordy Lockbaum phenomenon at Holy Cross because they allowed him to do something like that. There are players that, Deion Sanders did it in the NFL to a small degree. Obviously, before Chuck Bednarik passed away, he wasn't allowing anyone to talk about doing it the way he did it.
That's right.
Because I remember I met Chuck, the all-time great center linebacker with the Eagles, and I was introducing him to someone and saying with admiration, this is Chuck Bednarik, the last man in the NFL to play both ways legitimately. Played 59 minutes in the NFL championship game against Green Bay, and he put that big gnarled paw on my shoulder, bam, and said, 59 and a half. You don't shorten the pros like that.
No, you can't.
There's just not that many that have done it because, as you point out, not allowed to. And I'll leave it with this. You remember Terry Donahue, the Hall of Fame football.
Very well, yeah.
Remember Kenny Easley, the great safety with the Seattle Seahawks? He played for him at UCLA. And I remember talking with Coach Donahue a number of years ago when we were doing TV together, and I asked about Kenny Easley because Kenny's one of the all-time great athletes. And he said, Charles, in this era we're in now, I probably would have had Kenny playing offense for me instead of putting him at safety. He said, because you got to score points in today's world to win. And he said he would have scored points for me. But back then, you used to take your best and you put my defense first.
Right.
And pull people down. I think you're right. Others can do it. I don't think we'll see a widespread thing. I don't think it'll be a phenomenon, especially not the number of plays that Travis Hunter played, because there will be a pushback from families. There'll be a pushback from their advisors. It's a lot of plays, folks. Yep. A lot of plays. You might want to be careful with how many you're doing. I think Travis Hunter may stand alone again for a while. Others will do a little more like the Champ Bailey, how much Champ played at Georgia.
He did, yeah. And that's the thing. His advisor is prime. I mean, so that I'm sure he's got an agent and everything, but he's. I don't care
who's advising elsewhere. There's one advisor in this one. That's Coach Sanders. That's it. Listen, he's doing pretty well, having worked with him. I don't care who the parents are. I don't care who the advisor is. You know who Travis is listening to first.
Yep, exactly.
That man. And by the way, it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, not bad at all. By the way, I wanted to mention this to you. The Belichick to the North Carolina happening is like, it's almost like this country. It's divided. Everybody's down the middle. It's going to be an utter failure or it's going to be the greatest thing ever. To be honest with you, I don't think anybody knows.
How can we know?
No.
It's not possible to know, all right? Because he hasn't done anything. We have no track record in the college game. What I think helps him in this, Pat, is that the college game structure can almost be NFL-like.
Right.
Now.
Especially now, yeah.
All those things being like, when you when you go to your computer and you say, okay, I want to take a good look at the University of Florida and look at their athletic department makeup. Let's go to football. Well, you and I were raised at a time where you had a head coach, your coordinators, 5 assistants, remember it was capped at like 9 on your staff.
Yeah.
And then the GAs were capped at $12,000 a year or something like that, right? So it was a different era and a different time. And I'm not longing for those times of being nostalgic. I'm just saying, here's the basis of comparison, everyone. If you really want to see where we are in college football now, go to your favorite school, especially a Power 5, Power 4 school, right? Punch into the athletic department, go to football, and keep scrolling, and then call me next Christmas when you're done. Because it is the most unbelievable unit of people that are working now, what's listed, what's part of it, how many analysts. heck, your nutrition department, your strength. We can go on and on. It is monstrous compared to what you and I grew up knowing. So it's just a different world that we're living in, but it's much more of a pro structure. You're going to have a general manager, right, who's kind of doing it. You're going to have player personnel people evaluating these kids, especially in the transfer portal. If people are worried about Coach Belichick recruiting, I'd say you might just throw that out of your head. Recruiting's different now.
Yeah.
He will have more people coming to him, at least initially, than he has to go to them. My biggest concern, if you call it that, because I'm really not concerned, it matters to me, no way, right? That's up to him, and I hope he's successful and all that other stuff. It's just simply who's doing the evaluating of these college kids. Because it sounds great to bring the band with you. Does the band know the college game?
Well,
Do they know high school?
Not only that, but the band did not draft very well. That was a knock on Belichick,
Last few years, you cannot point to it. And listen, I have a ton of respect for him. I get the chance to meet with him, do things. And if you had a chance to sit with him and he wanted to talk football with you, oh my God, right? Right? The mountain came to Muhammad, right? And you're just sitting there, just taking it in and learning and learning and learning. But I can't, in good conscience, sit here and try and sell anyone that the last 3 or 4 drafts were good. Because you can't point to it and like you would just say, okay, show me who's here and how productive that I don't have it, right? So when you look at it that way, that leads people to have a question. But if he's bringing in people who understand high school, college ball, that can change for you quickly. And the other part is, if they're evaluating the transfer portal. But I don't know who those people are at this time. I know Mike Lombardi's coming in.
Yeah, I saw that,
yeah. But Mike's background is NFL.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, who are they bringing in that gets what we're talking about? If I know Coach Belichick, he'll have those people. He's a lot smarter than we are.
Oh, he is. And he's got a lot more money than we do, too. That's why.
Yeah, he's done pretty well for himself, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yes. Hey, let me ask you: Is it over as far as MVP go? Did Josh Allen just cement that? Yes.
I thought he cemented it the week before in the game against the Rams. I thought that did it, and this just confirmed it.
Yeah.
To me, the game against the Rams when they really should have been blown out, and he decided no, it's not going to happen, and he brought them back himself essentially, and then this week confirmed it, going to Detroit and laying it to him. I did joke on our broadcast that Detroit isn't foreign territory for Buffalo by any sense. Like, yes, it's a road game, but Pat, think back over the last few years between COVID and weather, the number of times Buffalo's had to go to Detroit to play a home game. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a second home, quote unquote. I mean,
they were okay with it. Yeah.
It's a little tenuous what I'm trying to do, but you understand my point being they're used to these sorts of things. In fact, the week of preparation, which will blow away a normal team, they had such bad weather that they had a road advisory that no one could be on the roads. So that instead of having a normal practice on one of those days, they had to do everything by Zoom and Meet, and now you switch what you're doing in preparation for the week. Teams with bad culture, teams with bad leadership, all right, and talk about team leadership, player leadership, they're going to get thrown by stuff like that and have a bad week. They're going to collapse. Buffalo just went, okay, we'll do Zoom. Okay, fine. Yeah, and then we're going to meet. And went to Detroit and won a big ball game. Detroit's a very good team, as we well know. My biggest worry for them now is attrition on defense. Every time I
secondary,
there's another guy hurt. And getting guys late in the season off the street, off your practice squad, the whole thing, you can do stuff in the short term. Pat, I don't think they can carry you in the long term. Detroit may go into the playoffs as the number 1 seed, and because of injuries on defense, actually be the most vulnerable. That's the way the NFL kind of works.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. I mean, both corners are out now, and they've just had Anzalone, of course, who's one of our favorites.
Terrific player.
Gator. Yeah, great.
Quan Alexander's playing linebacker for them. They just picked him up. I don't think that he was on their ready list when the season began. That's not a shot at Quan, but he's not in the prime of his career now. He's been going team to team lately. He's a guy you got to go pick up. And by the way, how about the move the 49ers made with Devondre Campbell, where they're not just going to cut him and release him. We're going to suspend him, try and get money, do all that fun stuff. And guess what? If they had just released him, you know where he would have ended up by today? Detroit.
Detroit, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. He would end up in a better situation. And there's no way San Francisco's letting that happen. And by the way, my hat's off to San Francisco for not letting that happen.
Yeah.
You put on your team, you don't get benefits.
And, well, that would be the one thing I'd wonder if Dan Campbell's culture would not allow him to take that guy. You know,
I think that they would mull it over, kick it around, and then
Yeah.
they'd look at their linebacker room and say, he won't do it to us.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like Shane Matthews and I used to talk about this all the time. He goes, "Look, if you're good enough, they'll find a spot for you in the NFL."
And they work their way through things, right, Pat?
Yeah.
How many times have you met with someone who told you about their convictions and their beliefs and this is what I stand for? And 6 months later, you're like, I thought you said you wouldn't have certain guys like that. And that's why you got 3 of them.
Yes,
You got
it
needs.
does. It happens. It happens. By the way, I wanted to comment on your background there. That's the best looking background we've had on the show so far.
No, thank you. And you know, Dark Ball had nothing to do with it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you hand painted all the. Some of
Oh,
those
yeah.
look like
Yeah. Been working on it for
the
15 years.
Capitol or something.
15 years of work, and now you see the benefit. You know where this came from. This is easy.
I know. It came from the same place mine came from, our wives.
And aren't we lucky?
Yep. Oh, exactly. We outkicked our coverage. All right. So, who do you think's going to be in? I'll let you go with who do you think's going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
Well, you know, yesterday was really billed as a big one, Bills, Lions, and I think that the public would love that. Absolutely love it. Okay. Everyone wants to have Kansas City kicked to the curb.
Not me. I'm a Kansas City guy.
When they get DJ Humphries back and he had some actual play at left tackle, so they can get Joe Tooney back at guard. I'm not ready to tell Kansas City to take a hike, especially if they lock down the number 1 overall seed and you get Mahomes some rest, right? You can get them, you know, everyone has to come through KC. And the people who have to come through there now, I think Buffalo's the biggest threat. I don't think Buffalo has the same fear factor of them. They have the quarterback who's on the major league mission. I don't think Buffalo cares where they play them now. That's a team that I would eyeball. On the NFC side, we've already talked about Detroit. My respect for them is off the charts, but my concern for them is also off the charts on the defensive side. You can't just keep losing great players or really good players in your system and expect that to hold up over time. We shall see. Plus, because they got in a shootout yesterday, they couldn't rely on what's the best part of their game, and that's Montgomery and Gibbs running the ball.
Right.
I mean, their numbers running it were like really low because it was a shootout game, and Jared Goff's terrific, et cetera. But I think they don't want to play too many of those. So, Kansas City, I'm not kicking them to the curb by any stretch. I think it comes down to Kansas City, Buffalo on the AFC side. I give Detroit the respect, on the NFC side. But I'm telling you, Minnesota might be the major surprise in there because of Brian Flores and that defense.
Yeah.
And they really gum up the works on you. And that might get it done. This is a different Minnesota team than that 113 by 1 score and survived a bad defense. This one's got it all together. The big question mark is going to be a Sam Darnold going down the stretch. But the NFC side, I think, is going to be a lot of fist fights. And a lot of people could come out of there. Green Bay could come out of there.
Yeah,
Minnesota,
Green Bay is I was going to mention.
right? You know, the Rams are getting hot now, so they're gonna be a tough one. And never count out Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles. Every year you pick against them, and their win yesterday at the Chargers,
That was huge for them.
I don't think it got enough respect. I really don't. That is a big, massive win and a decisive one out there for them.
All right, one quick thing.
Yeah, by the way, we didn't even mention Philadelphia is playing the best football.
Well, exactly. What is their streak now? 11, 12 in a row, and with drama.
Well, it's almost like they're most comfortable with drama.
Exactly.
Like everything's going easy. So Jalen Carr decides to slap somebody up the head like he was Deacon Jones. The coach realized that's a bad play. He gets on him. D-line coach says, "No, don't get on my play. You're not here." Then, of course,
He's laughing in the background.
and there's Big Dom right in the middle of it. I mean, that's Philadelphia in a nutshell. And then, of course, Jalen could not have given a better response to the presser, could he, Pat? Is that what you got?
That was great stuff. Yeah, that was great stuff. And that is what we want. We want drama.
It's fun.
Speaking of drama, okay, bigger surprise out of the three teams, and we'll let you go on this.
Yeah.
This season, Florida State, San Francisco 49ers, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Florida State by far. By
You didn't
far.
see 2-10 coming?
Did. But you know what it pointed out, Pat? That in this era of NIL and roster revision every year, your evaluation has got to be on point.
Yep.
And if you evaluate especially a quarterback and he's not your guy, it takes you down in a big way. UCF evaluated KJ Jefferson from Arkansas for their system, which I have to admit was stunned that they thought he and that system were a match. I like the kid. I love how he's played. Never saw his style as a match for UCF. I was stunned when it happened. Was not stunned that the results weren't there, unfortunately. Did that for the kid. But that was not a match. So if you misevaluate, especially at that position, it's going to lead you to those kind of seasons. And Indiana's the opposite side, right? Because Kurt Signetti brought in 14 from James Madison, where he was a big-time winner, 39 others who came from FCS, and he knew them from recruiting, from playing against them, the whole deal. And by the way, did they all come in with a major chip on their shoulders, show the Big Ten that they could play? Exactly. Yes, they did. It worked. Plus, they didn't have to play very many people in the Big Ten this year.
What game do you have this weekend?
This weekend, we're going to Freeze in Buffalo. We got New England.
No. Poor thing, man. I feel your pain.
Listen, I'm lucky enough to be there on a Sunday. It doesn't matter whether it's freezing, 300 degrees. Anyone I know would trade with me. So I realize how fortunate I am.
It's warm in the press box, right?
The window. I will say the window's open. So the last time I was in Buffalo, Pat, was playoff game. Patriots at Bills. Nighttime kickoff. January. -7.
Oh.
And the windows open. Yes, I was bundled like Nanook of the North. You're darn right.
When I used to cover the NFL, I was covering RFK. I was covering a game there, and they had it's an open air, and I literally had to watch the game. Florida boy, I had to go watch the game on a TV in a warm room. I couldn't watch it live. It was impossible.
Pat, I'll just leave it with this. That night in Buffalo, we have a wonderful person who works our booth, Jose, who sets up everything. And yes, there are heaters, there's this, there's that. It's the only way you survive, right? The heaters froze before kickoff. Western New York remains undefeated.
Charles, always great talking to you, man. I appreciate you. You're a good man, and we'll be watching you. You know, I text you every once in a while when I'm watching the game and point out something great you said. And we did think about one year auctioning off one of your frozen toes for our golf tournament, but just in honor of Sergeant Holka,
Sergeant Holka. We're Sergeant Holka. Blow it up, sir.
You like it as much as I do. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after we get out of here and say goodbye to my good friend Charles Davis. Bye, Charles.
Happy holidays, Pat. You take care. All the best to everyone.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Always great on Mondays to bring in Robbie Andrew for Yes, No, Where, Maybe. Coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. And, of course, this segment is sponsored by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Robbie, how was your weekend?
Good, Patrick. How was yours?
It was good. It was pretty low-key. Played a little golf, played 6 holes. And
I enjoyed the Army-Navy game.
that was good. The basketball was good. Florida Gators looked pretty good.
They look really good.
I was mentioning this before. It's like in my family, everybody's like, what's going on here? They're like, are we supposed to get excited about this? This doesn't seem normal. And I said, well, it was normal back in 06.
2006, yeah. But, Pat, the thing is, you watch them play now, they have chemistry like a postseason team that's playing in the postseason. They've got incredible chemistry, and there's an unselfishness about them where it doesn't seem to matter who scores as long as they're playing well together as a team is what I'm saying.
That's what, and you're exactly right. Well, let's go ahead and get to Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Street dining done the right way. If you go in there and say you listen to the podcast, you get free fries with your order. We appreciate Keith Miller. I blanked on his name there for a second. Talk about getting old.
Yeah, there you are.
For being one of our great sponsors. All right, Robbie, number 1. Florida sweeps North Carolina Tuesday and Wednesday in basketball, men and women.
I'd like to say yes, Pat, but I need to go with maybe because I really can't. I don't trust the women's team, to be honest with you. I mean, they've played well at times, other times they haven't. So I don't know that side of it. But, I think the men, they are better, I think, than North Carolina, which has lost 3 or 4 games, I think, already. The thing you worry about is the brand, North Carolina, the mystique. You're playing in Charlotte. Charlotte, yeah. So, it's going to be a difficult game. I guess a lot of people have pointed to this game, seeing this could be where the Gators make their first misstep. So I think they have a good chance. I think the men have a good chance to win. I think maybe.
Here's the interesting part of it: North Carolina is ranked. The women are ranked, not the men.
Yeah.
So that would tell you that it's going to be rough. And you're right with Florida. I listened to a lot of the game yesterday. I was driving around, and it was just like they could go up by 30 and then lose by 30, and it's like they don't handle the ball that well, and they've got
a lot of young players on that team. That's part of it.
But anyway, I would go with maybe on that for sure.
Yeah, I'm a maybe too.
Yeah. All right, let's get to number 2, and I want to get your take on who is going to win the Tulane-Florida game. But first, I want to ask you, have you ever seen a Tulane-Florida game in person in football?
Yeah, I've seen a few of them, Pat, but the 2 that come to my mind first are the 1966 game, which was played on November 12th. And my birthday present was to go to the game with my dad on the bus from St. Augustine, and my gift was a pair of binoculars. So, that was the week after. It was the week after that Georgia disaster where Spurrier got beat up all over the field. But I remember during warm-up sitting there watching Spurrier with my binoculars, thinking, he didn't get killed. He's okay. He's going to be fine. And they ended up winning like 31-10, and Downs returned a punt for a touchdown. So I remember that game. And then I was at the '69. Tampa game at Tampa Stadium where they won a
2-point conversion, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 18-17, which was but I remember being impressed with how hard Tulane played in that game, but kind of disappointed in how the Super Softs did.
Yeah. They ended up winning though.
Out to me.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about the game?
Jill just pointed out that during that game, Jill was 1 year old that I was at the 69 game.
Not more, though.
Yeah. The Tampa game.
Wow, it's unbelievable. That makes me feel even older. You like the Gators in this game? Of course, their starting quarterback's not going to be there.
Yeah, I kind of do, Pat, just because they have stuck together and played hard throughout the second half of the year. And I think they've got guys that are staying and playing in the game, and I think they're going to do it one more time just to kind of finish this season off the right way and start next season ranked in the top 25 with a lot of momentum. So I like the Gators in this one.
Yep, we'll see what happens. And finally, number 3 on Yes, Nowhere, maybe on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line with Robbie Andrew. Georgia wins the first ever 12-team football playoff this year.
Pat, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say yes, because, they've beaten Texas twice. They've beaten Tennessee, and they dominated 2 of those games. They dominated.
Yep.
And to me, they're like the Kansas City Chiefs all of a sudden. They somehow find a way to win games. And, that's where you're at. And when you're in the playoff like this, you got to find a way to win games because they're all going to be close. And I like them in a close game, and they're all going to be close. And I just have a feeling Kirby's smart and that they're going to win it again.
That's the thing for me. I'm with you. I don't want them to win. But
yeah.
Who do you trust more, Kirby Smart or any other coach in this?
Yeah. Who would you pick?
Yeah, he's been to a lot of these games and big games and.
Yeah.
So even Carson Beck at this point has played in a lot of big games.
Yeah, you would like to think Oregon would be a tough one, but look at what Georgia did to Oregon a few years ago in the Georgia Dome in that first game of the year. They just destroyed them. So
not only that, but Oregon's path is a little bit tough too. I'm not sure they're going to make it.
Yeah.
All right, Robbie, we're going to let you go, and we appreciate you coming on, and we will.
My pleasure, Pat.
We will
I'll see
talk
you
to you.
soon.
Okay, talk to you later, buddy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, we appreciate Robbie being on the show, as always, on Mondays. And we may actually get him on Thursday again, too, since we're going to have Coach Spurrier is going to be on. As far as I know, that's the word I'm getting. All right, let us get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville firm here for your needs in family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. It's almost here. We've been saying this for a while. January's almost here. We were exchanging some music over the weekend, Ken Hesser and myself. Good stuff, I can tell you that. Let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Number 1, the women won in basketball. They won their 4th game in a row. Now, they haven't beaten anybody during those 4 games, but, there was one game that was a Power 5 team. But, hey, the point is they won, and they, like the men, have North Carolina up in Charlotte. Their game is Wednesday. The men are Tuesday. And as we asked Robbie what he thought about Florida sweeping, that's going to be tough. But neither one of those teams is. I'm sorry. The North Carolina basketball team, men's basketball team, is not ranked. The women are ranked. They're like 14th, and I think they're like 9-1 or something like that. They're pretty good. So if Florida could somehow get a win here, that'd be huge for their net ranking to win. Again, that's why you play these neutral site games. Play it in Charlotte, you pull off a win, boom. I know it's going to be a big crowd for them, but I don't know how big a crowd it's going to be. Anyway, so that was a good win. I listened to a lot of that game, to be honest with you. I watched a little bit, but I listened to a lot of it. I was driving around doing stuff yesterday. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And I saw where Josh Braun, you remember Josh Braun? He was a offensive lineman here, not a bad player, didn't like it, left, went to Arkansas. I kind of forgot about him, but he did play in that game 2 years ago that Florida lost. Anyway, he played 2 years at Arkansas. Now he can't get enough of playing the Gators, so he's going to Kentucky. So there you go, Josh. And he's a really good player. I mean, he's become a great guard, and you could build a team with all the guys who've left Florida since Napier got here. However, many cases, these were guys who didn't want certain disciplines, didn't want people making them go to class, I'm not saying Josh Braun was that guy, but I'm just saying there's a lot of guys who struggled with not getting the NIL the way they wanted. So, and they left. some of them are really good kids, and I'm not saying anybody's a bad guy, but you could put together a pretty good team, especially you put the kid from Virginia Tech, Antoine Wright. I can never get his name right. Ryland Powell, yeah, who I think led the ACC in sacks. A lot of them out there. In fact, there are 6,311 players in the portal right now. Think about that. There aren't 6,311 spots for those players, just so you know. Somebody is going to have to walk on or just quit playing football. Grass isn't always greener. Just be careful out there, guys. All right, let's go to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, which was Navy beating Army. Didn't expect that, although it's Navy, Army, so Army, Navy, whatever you want to do. It's a big game, rivalry game. Watched a lot of it because it was on the second TV. I was watching the Gator game on the first TV and Army Navy on the second, and it was a pretty good game. They threw the ball around a little bit. I was surprised at that. But anyway, congratulations to Navy. That's a big win for them. Army, boy, their season was going. They were like a playoff team 3 weeks ago, and then Notre Dame crushed them, and then they crushed Tulane, and then they lose this game. So anyway. We'll see how it goes. That's who they beat. They beat Tulane to get into that was the playoffs. Or no, I'm sorry. That was their conference championship game, yes. But they weren't high enough in the conference. It's hard to keep all this stuff together when you're trying to figure out NIL and the settlement that they made with the world to get more money to the players and everything like that, and new playoffs and everything. And I'm old and I forget things. All right, let's move along to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Weekend. And our Gator of the Weekend is my man Walter Clayton. I tell you what, he has just been unbelievable. And to come in and take over the point guard job, and look, that was a concern of mine. You had Pullen, who was a really good point guard. When Clayton would be in there, wasn't as good. He would play the point sometimes, and you go, gosh, I don't know. And now he was going to be the point guard, and you're like, I don't know, man. It's gone off obviously extremely well. He's worked really hard on his defense, but he's still scoring points at an incredible level. 25 on Saturday. He is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Weekend. Man, he was drilling those threes. I was a happy young man. Appreciate him. Let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Kyle Cohen, need to go by and see him. In fact, I actually went by there the other day, but and he was getting out of his car, and I was getting out of mine. He goes, "Hey, you coming in?" I go, "Actually, my wife wanted Jimmy John's, so I had to go get it." But hey, I'll go there and just have a Dooley. A Dooley is the chicken parm sandwich, and it's great. All right, let's get our quick picks, and it's just going to be very easy. Florida, North Carolina, man. That's all we need. We're not all you would pick against Florida in the women's because North Carolina's ranked, and I've told you that. But we're just going to give you the Florida-North Carolina game in Charlotte. It's a tough call. Tough call to see who's going to win that game. But it'll be a game we're all watching Tuesday. We'll get to the games of the weekend brought to you by the Swamp in just a minute. All right, that is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Let's get to our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. All right, this is Joe Bonner, and this is the president at the University of South Alabama, and he's having a good time, man. They won their bowl game. So don't tell me the bowls don't matter. It matters to Joe Bonner. Look at him. He's dancing kind of like Trump. Or Elaine. More like Elaine, actually. Elaine Bennett. Hey, have a good time at a bowl game. That's what it's there for. And people who always tell me that bowls don't matter. I don't know why they have so many bowls. I'm like, how is it bothering you? What are you gonna watch instead? Cornhole? It's a football game on. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. People want to be there. Oh, there's nobody in the stands. ESPN doesn't care. It's content for them. I'm only going to say this once. because I always repeat it every year. So don't tell me the bowls don't matter. Don't tell me the bowls, there's too many bowls. They're not for you if you feel that way. They're for me, though. I'll be watching them, pretty much all of them. All right, let's move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Weekend. Gallo Car Wash, great place to get your car washed. They do a great job. Did a great job on my car, I can tell you that much. And we appreciate Gallo. And our Sponge of the Weekend is Elijah Martin. And you know why it's Elijah Martin? Because one thing I love about this team right now, so far, is the way the guards rebound. They're not trying to get out. They're making sure somebody's got the board before they're trying to run. They're still running, but they're getting the ball out. And Elijah Martin in that game had 11 rebounds, double-double. And that is a sponge, man, when you start soaking in all those rebounds. And he was cleaning the glass. So I appreciate him. And he is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Weekend. That's quite a high honor there, Elijah. I'll make him aware of that when I see him next time. All right, let's move along to our Florida Surf Club Cool Dude of the Weekend. We had a lot of cool dudes to choose from, but to me, I don't know if you watched any football this weekend, any NFL. Josh Allen, man, is just playing at a different level. And it was like Lamar Jackson, is he going to win another MVP? And no, it's not going to happen. This guy is just doing things that, running and throwing, and you saw the two-handed pass. It was almost like the Norman Dale pass, that it got called back. That's why it didn't make play of the weekend, but because of a penalty. But he is the coolest dude I know right now, and he has got to be loving life. Now, when we get to the playoffs, we'll find out if he can keep us cool. Or like Zach did right there. He kept his cool when he had. All right, let's move along to our Christine and Steve Windig present the 12. Now, this one today is going to be the 12 teams, I think, that are in the playoff, and the order I would put them in for confidence. In other words, your confidence pool, a lot of people do it with the NFL, but they also do it with the bowls. Here's our confidence pool for the playoffs. My number 12 team is Boise State. Boise State is a team that's not going to win it. Okay, I will say this: their march there, their bracket's not bad, but they're not going to win it. Tennessee is not going to win it. I'm sorry to say it, Charles. Tennessee is good, but they're not great this year. They have a really good defense. They play great sometimes, but quarterback is, you don't know what you're getting there. So I just don't think they can win it. And plus, if you look at who they've got to play, not good. SMU, no way. That's number 10 on my confidence level. 9 is Indiana. Indiana's going to be one and done. 8 is Clemson. They may be able to win a game, but don't they open with, I'm trying to remember. Their first game, it doesn't matter. Their first game's against somebody really good. I think it's Texas. Texas, yes, that's right, Texas. So, yeah, you're out. Notre Dame, I got 7. I just think offensively they'll not be able – they'll lose a game along the way. So I don't think they'll win it all. And Arizona State at 6, Oregon at 5. Now, that's a little low. For some people will put them at number 1, which the committee did. But I don't think they're going to win it all. I think that mainly because of their bracket that they got stuck in, it's not really a fair bracket to them as good as they play. I got Texas at 4. I picked Texas before the year to win the national title, but I don't see it now. And I'm not giving you a good reason. I'm going to be rooting for them because when you think of the other teams. Penn State at 3. Penn State is, again, has it. I looked at the brackets, and if you have to look at the brackets to make this call, but I put Penn State at 3, Ohio State at 2, and Georgia at 1. If I was betting and I had to bet my money on one team, it would be Georgia. Robbie and I just talked about that. They have a coach who knows how to win big games, who's gotten really good at it. And they've got players who are ready to go win these kind of games. And by winning the SEC, they get the bye, so plenty of time off to get Carson Beck healthy. Now, I've got them number 1. If they told me tomorrow Carson Beck's elbow, he's a no-go, which they will not tell you. I can promise you that. You will not know about him until the day before the game or the day of the game. He'll be listed as questionable. But if he's not going, then I would just drop them all the way back down to probably the middle of it. But we'll see what happens there. So that is our Christine and Steve Wendig present the 12. And we're going to keep doing the 12. I know that Steve's got a project he wants us to do, and I really want to do that. And that's life imaging, where they do scans on your body. He found out he needed open heart surgery through that scan, and it saved his life. He's doing a lot better now. Great dude, quarterback club member, Gainesville Fighting Gator touchdown club member. Always love seeing him out, and he'll hopefully keep getting better, and we'll keep doing the 12 as long as he wants us to do it, or we'll do something else. We definitely want to get them in here to talk about how they saved his life, and talk about how they saved his life as well. All right, let's move along to our final thing, which is, of course, our swamp games of the weekend. We had a great time out there Thursday, man. We had a blast. It was a little cold at the end, but it was fun. And we love going out there, and you never know when we're just going to say, hey, let's go out there Thursday again, or let's go out there Friday and just have a great time, because it's so much fun at the Swamp Restaurant. All right, you got a lot to watch this weekend. We'll start off with the Tuesday game, of course, Florida, North Carolina in Charlotte. It is 7 o'clock on ESPN. So that'll be a good one to watch. Obviously, you also have Memphis at West Virginia in the Frisco Bowl at 9 p.m. on ESPN. So jump all over that, too, while you're at. I don't know. Memphis, look, will I watch it? Hey, you're dang right I'll watch it. I watch every football game, parts of it. I probably won't watch it all. Not a 9 o'clock game. Wednesday, you have Florida's women are playing against North Carolina as well. That game is at 7. I'm trying to find it here. I'm not finding it, but I know it's here somewhere. I'll find. I'll find it here eventually. Okay. You also have Wednesday, Western Kentucky, James Madison Bowl game. That's the Boca Bowl, 5:30 on ESPN. Cal and UNLV are playing in the LA Bowl. This is still Wednesday, 9 o'clock on ESPN. Look, almost all of them are on ESPN or ESPN2. Oklahoma, Michigan basketball is on ESPN2 at 9 o'clock on Wednesday as well. That's a really good game, number 13 against number 14. So you got some good teams playing there. You got two games tonight, Bears-Vikings at 8 on ABC. Falcons-Raiders at 8:30 on ESPN. Thursday, you got Broncos-Chargers at 8:15 on Prime. And I think that's all and that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know is those games you got to play. 6:30 is the time for the women's game, but I don't know if it's on TV. I'm guessing it is. It's probably on an ESPN channel. Just look around. I don't know. I didn't write it down. Sometimes I forget. All right. That'll do it. We had a great show today, except when I forget things to write things down. But had a great show. Charles Davis, tremendous. Robbie Andrew, as always, tremendous. And Zach Rothrock, as always, tremendous. Me, I just try to get out of their way and let it go. We'll be back with another show Thursday, hopefully with Coach Spurrier. Until then, I am Pat Dooley saying, I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.